welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back for another tutorial with me. Today is going to be a fun one. We are going to be working up the retro butterfly day bag. This is such a fun pattern. It's got a nice fun repeat. It is perfect for spring and summer, especially when you start venturing outside and you need a cute functional bag to bring all your stuff with you. This is great for intermediate crocheters who are comfortable with changing colors multiple times in a row. If that is something you don't feel you're quite confident enough yet, I do have tutorials on my YouTube channel for color changing. So please feel free to watch those and come back, because I would hate for you guys to miss out on this pattern. It's so fun. It's got like a very retro, like grid type of feel that carries on into the strap that I'm super excited about. All of this I will show you in the tutorial. We are going to be following a graph. If that is something that you are also not comfortable with, I do have a tutorial on my channel that shows you that. If you'd rather follow along with a written pattern, I will have one linked for you in the description box, as well as a free pattern on my blog for you to follow along with if you feel this video goes a little too quickly for you and you'd rather work at your own pace. But with that being said, before I keep yip-yapping, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. All right, let's go ahead and get started. First, we're going to go over all the materials you're going to need to complete this bag. First and foremost is you're either going to need the chart or the written pattern, or both. I'm going to have a free version of this chart on my blog, and I'm also going to have the printable version as well as the written pattern available in my Etsy shop. Next, you're going to need some crochet essentials. You're going to need a crochet hook. I'm going to be using a 4.5mm crochet hook for this pattern. As you can see, it's been very loved on. I am so stubborn. I will not get a new one yet until this falls off. Then maybe I'll get a new one, but I just love it. I feel like we all have that special hook or needle that we always use and we refuse to get rid of no matter what they look like. Next, we're going to need a pair of scissors or thread snippers. And last but not least, we're going to need a yarn needle for sewing both of the panels together as well as the strap. All right, and then next we're going to go over what yarn that I used. Next, we're going to go over the yarn colors that I used for this project. Again, please feel free to use any yarn combo or yarn color combos for this pattern. Butterflies are supposed to be bright and beautiful, so please get creative and use any colors that your heart desires. For me, I decided to go with a purple and blue theme for this bag. Again, all yarn and yardages that I used will be listed down in the description box of this video and also on my blog. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's get it started with the edge of the butterfly. I decided to go with this almost sea green color, just something that's darker to offset the rest of the lighter colors in the middle. This blue, light blue shade for the fill for the bottom of the wing, or for the bottom wing. And I don't know if you can tell, but this is definitely a returned yarn. They literally cut through the end of the ball. I have no idea how someone was able to return it, but because of how I color change, which you will see in a minute, it really isn't a problem for me. So I'd rather me get it than someone else who doesn't color change the way that I do to get it. So there's that. So we're gonna have to work around that. I have this light green color for the fill for the top wing. And also this blue color is going to be used for this spot right here. And then for the central part, I don't even know what you call this. There's a technical term for it, but I'm just going to call it the stem and sound like an idiot. The stem of the butterfly, I'm going to be using this gorgeous teal color. It's coming up almost navy on camera, but it's this beautiful like blue, green, dark color. And for the outside square, the background, I'm going to be using this really light gray color just to kind of offset the bright colors and bring out those pretty colors of the butterfly and make them pop. Next, we're going to go over the purple butterfly, which I think is the one that I'm most looking forward to, because I never really use purples in any of my projects. Blue greens I feel like I'm a little bit more comfortable with, just because they're kind of easy to pair together and match, but with the purples and pinks, I don't know, this could look like total crap, but I have a little faith. I'm gonna try. Anyways, for this bottom edge color, I'm gonna go with this pretty royal purple color. The inside of the bottom half of the wing, as well as the spot up here, I'm gonna be using this beautiful peach color. For the fill for this top half, I'm going to be using this gorgeous like lavender color. The yarn ball is so big that I can't even fit it on the camera, but it's just gorgeous. Lavender color. For the stem of the butterfly, I'm just going to use a black. And then for the outside, the background of the square, I'm just going to be using this cream color. To kind of offset everything, and this is all I have left, so you know what that means. I have an excuse to go to the yarn store. So I'm excited for that, because this is literally all I have of this color. So hopefully it's enough to at least do the first square, and if not, that's okay. More of an excuse to go to the yarn store. Alright, so with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started with the pattern. For the first half of the pattern, all you're going to need is your crochet hook, your yarn choices, and of course your chart or the written pattern, depending on what you're going to be following. And I'm also going to go over how I color change in the next bit if you're a little unsure of how to color change with this pattern. I also have 2 other color changing tutorials other than the method I'm going to show today. If you don't want to use the method that I'm using personally, feel free to check out those videos and see which color changing method works best for you. So let's go ahead and get started with the pattern. And before we get going on the pattern, I did just want to briefly go over how to read a chart. This is not going to be an in-depth explanation, but just kind of a basic overview for those who have done it before or just need a little bit of guidance. Again, if you want to use the written pattern, it is going to be available in my Etsy shop for purchase. But if you're just going to be using the free graph from my blog, let's go over it and talk about how to read the graph. It is pretty self-explanatory. You're pretty much going to be working these rows or these rows in the graph how you would work with a normal crochet project. You're going to crochet from right to left, chain 1 turn, and then work back along the row that you just completed. So for working with graphs, so what you're going to do is you're going to start here at number 1, work the foundation chain along here, chain 1, turn, and then you're going to work back from left to right. So odd rows are going to be right to left, even rows left to right. So you're just going to zigzag all the way up and across. So it's pretty self-explanatory. I also did a little bit of legwork in preparation for this video. And I honestly find it super helpful to kind of do the work beforehand, so you're not having to start and stop as you're working along the graph. But I don't know if you can see, I'll zoom in a little bit. I just numbered the number of stitches in between each one of the elements on the graph. I'm going to have to count within the butterfly, which is not a big deal, but I did the legwork for the outside of the graphs to kind of subset any kind of time it would take for me to stop, read the chart, and then go back to crocheting. This is just an easier way of making things easier for yourself. I'm a millennial, so I'm a work smarter, not harder kind of gal. So I always kind of do preparation first before I get started with any project, because I can't stand starting and stopping, because my attention span is that of an ant and I will literally forget what I'm doing. Anyways, enough with the ranting. Let's go ahead and get started with the pattern. Okay, so because the color changes are happening in the first row, we are going to be working our color changes into the foundation chain. And based off of where the first stitches start is what color we are going to chain that initial foundation chain. So because we're starting with this light gray color, this is what I'm going to be making my chain with. And I have had a calamity with my cream colored yarn. I don't even know where the end is. Oh, I found it. So if it looks like I'm fumbling around off camera with this cream color, that's why. But we are going to go ahead and take this gray color or any color that you choose for the background of this first square here. That's what we're going to be doing our chain with. Let me scooch in so I don't break my back. There we go. All right. So as you can see here, there's going to be 62 stitches across for the width of this pattern. So we are going to be chaining 63 to get started. So I'm going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, now that we have our 63 chains, we're going to go ahead and start working in the foundation chain. For this first color change, you're going to be doing 31 stitches in this gray color and then another 31 stitches in this cream color. And this is totally dependent on your preference, but I prefer to work in this back hump here in the chain instead of working into the foundation chain here. I like to work in this back bump back here. I just feel it gives like a nice edge to the project, but because this is a bag and you're really not going to see the bottom edges anyways because they're going to be seamed together, it really doesn't matter. But because they're going to have the same number of stitches or chains on either side, it will make it a lot easier for seaming the two panels together later on. So it's just something to think about. Again, we're going to be doing 31 single crochet. I forgot to mention this entire pattern is going to be worked in single crochet. So no fancy stitches. All right, so we're coming up on our 31st stitch. So instead of completing the single crochet like normal, we're going to do an uncompleted single crochet. And what I like to do is just tie this on the new color, and because I'm just going to leave it in later on. So I'm just going to tie on this cream color, and then I'm going to finish this stitch with the cream color, and then I'm going to work 31 stitches until the end of the foundation chain. Alright, so I'm coming up on my 31st stitch in this cream color, so I'm going to go ahead and finish. The ends are always the hardest. Finish this, stitch out. So this is what you should have, 31 in this gray color and 31 in this cream color. Now, we're going to be working this exact same color pattern for the next 5 rows. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, but again, all you have to do is chain 1, turn, work 31 cream, 31 gray. Once you get to row 3, chain 1, turn, 31 gray, 31 cream. Really easy and self-explanatory, and you're going to do that until row 5. And then I'm going to come back at row 6. I'm going to go over how to do the color changings with the colors, because that's when my color changing method is a little switched up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll be right back. All right, so after the first 5 initial rows, this is what you should have. And now we get to the exciting part, which is starting to work the butterflies. I'm going to work the wrong side first so you can see how I handle color changes on the wrong side, and then I'm going to flip it over and show you one more time with the right side to give you an idea of how to work both sides with the color changing technique that I'm going to use. Alright, so because we're working the wrong side, we're going to be working from right to left. So we're going to start here at row 6, and we're going to work 8 single crochet in this cream color. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. And on the 8th stitch, we're not going to complete it. I'm going to snip it off and tie on this dark purple color. I use the cut and tie method if it wasn't already obvious, but this method isn't for everyone, so again, please feel free to use any color changing method that works best for you. Alright, so next we're going to do 3 single crochet in this purple. 3rd stitch, fasten it off. We're going to tie back on this cream color. We're going to work 9 single crochet in this cream. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once we get to the 9th stitch, I'm going to fasten off, tie on this purple, finish that stitch off. We're going to do 3 single crochet in this purple, tie back on this cream color, and then we're going to finish this square off with 8 single crochet in this cream color. 7, 8. And I usually do this when I get to the end of the row, but because I'm just going to be working this one square until we flip over and work the right side, this is just for the wrong side rows. I have to go in and pull these ties back from the right side to the wrong side. And again, this is only for the wrong side rows. Again, this color changing method is not for everyone. Please feel free to use whatever color changing method works best for you. And at the end of this panel, I'm just going to go in and knot off and tie these ends. I'm not really worried about what it's going to look like on the inside of the bag because I am going to line it. So that's also something to keep in mind when you're choosing which method you want to color change with. Is again, you can line the bag, you cannot line the bag. It's completely up to you, but because the inside of my bag is going to be looking a little unruly, if you'll say that, I'm going to go ahead and line the inside of the bag. But I'm going to go ahead and do the second square for this row, and then I'm going to come back and show you how to change colors on the right side rows. Alright, so now that I've worked one of the wrong side rows, I'm going to flip over and show you how I color change on the right side rows. So we're going to be working this blue butterfly right here, and we're going to be working row 7. So we're going to be starting, chain 1 turn, starting with 7 single crochet in this gray color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Fasten off there. I'm going to grab this teal color here. Alright, we're going to work this blue color 2 stitches, 2 single crochet. We're going to move on to this pretty light blue color. Right, and we're going to work 3 single crochet in this light blue. 3. I'm going to switch back over to this gray color. And we're going to work 7 single crochet in this gray. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Switch back over to this light blue color. Tie that on. I'm going to be working 3 stitches in this blue. 1, 2, 3. Switch back over to this teal. We're going to be working 2 single crochet in this teal color, and then back to this gray to finish out the row with 7 single crochet. And once I get to the center, I actually didn't realize that I did this, but I forgot one of the ties on the wrong side. So that actually gives me a perfect example of why I need to pull the ties back to the wrong side of the project. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now so I can finish out this row. Again, it was 7 single crochet in that gray color. And again, this color changing method is not for everyone. It might not be the most efficient for everyone. I actually find this to be the fastest way for me to color change, and I would rather pluck out my eyebrows one hair at a time than having to juggle a bunch of yarn and doing intarsia or tapestry. It is literally my undoing. So I'd rather do anything else than do that. So that is why I've resulted to doing this cut and tie color changing method. And it has worked out for a lot of people who have the same dilemma as me. And there are other people who would rather use intarsia and tapestry. It is totally up to you. Any color changing method would look great with this pattern. Again, just keep in mind, if you are going to do the cut and tie, you will have to line inside of the bag unless you really don't care what the inside of the bag looks like, because you're going to throw all your crap in there anyways. Totally up to you. This panel, you're going to need 2, one for the front, one for the back. Again, written pattern, printable written pattern and chart are going to be in my Etsy shop. Free chart is going to be on my blog, along with the yardages and the yarns that I used. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do those. My nails will probably change before we come back, but I will see you once we get both of these panels done. Hi, is this future me? I changed my mind, which is not par from the course. As I was finishing the first panel and starting to work on the second panel, I realized that making 2 of these would be entirely too much. Please feel free to do that if that's what you want to do. But I did decide to go ahead and make the back panel just a plain checker pattern, just the background of the first panel, just to make it easier for me, make it easier for you. And honestly, because it's the back of the bag, it really doesn't matter anyways, but it still looks really cute put together. But I wanted to give you guys that option just in case you didn't want to make 2 of these front panels. But again, please feel free to do that if you would like to. I personally decided to go with the plain checker pattern here. Both of these charts will be listed in the pattern and also on the blog. So please go ahead and choose whichever one you would like to do. But I did finish both of these panels, so I'm going to go ahead and grab those and we'll start seaming up the bag. Okay, now that both panels of the bag are finished, we're going to go ahead and start seaming them together. For the back panel, you should leave a tail that's going to be long enough to seam up both of the panels. If not, it's totally fine. You can always attach a tail or add more of a tail if you run out as you're seaming the bag. No worries. But I'm going to go ahead and show you 2 different ways you can seam up the bag. Both sides, or both of these techniques, you're going to start the exact same way. So let's go ahead and move some of this stuff out of the way. You are going to place both panels with the right sides facing each other, like this. So the wrong sides should be facing towards you, and the right side of the panel should be facing towards each other. And you're going to turn the bag until you find where your tail is. And I'm going to go ahead and flip this over because it's easier for me to seam it up this way, working from right to left. And what you're going to do is you're going to line up your panels of the bag. So each one of these grids lays against each other. And you can always kind of fidget with it as you work because your panels can tend to shift as you're seaming it together. Now you have 2 options. You can either slip stitch or single crochet the panels together to connect them, or you can seam them using a yarn needle. I personally am going to use a yarn needle just because it's easier for me to do. and a little less time consuming, and I find it makes the, excuse me, the panels of the bag a little less bulky. But again, it's totally up to you. To seam up the bag using single crochet, all you're going to do is you're going to take your crochet hook, pass through both panels of the bag, grab the tail that's going to be on the bottom panel, pull the loop through that, and then you're just going to pass the hook through both panels, yarn over, and slip stitch. Pass the hook through them. I'm going to go ahead and zoom you guys in so you can see a little bit better. There we go. So I'll show you one more time. You're going to pass the hook through both panels, yarn over, pull up a loop, and slip stitch. Or you can pass the hook through, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then single crochet. It is completely up to you. And the seam on the outside is really beautiful and seamless. But again, I just prefer to use a yarn needle to seam up my panels because I find it to be a little bit bulky and a little less time consuming. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So what you're going to do is just, again, make sure these are nice and even. And oh my goodness, Jill, hair is everywhere. And then you're just going to attach a yarn needle to your tail. I'll zoom you guys out just a wee bit. There we go. And using pretty much the same technique except for the addition of the hook, you're just going to pass the yarn needle through this very top stitch here in the corner on the bottom panel and through this very first stitch here on the top panel. And without knotting the yarn preferably, you're just going to pull to tighten. And then to keep going, you're just going to pass the yarn needle through the bottom panel, through the top panel, and pull to tighten. And then again, and placing the yarn needle as closer as far as that you'd like. If you'd like a tighter stitch for a more even appearance and tighter appearance, you're going to want to put the yarn needle pretty close to each one of these seam stitches as you go. But again, it's completely up to you whether you put it, you know, half an inch apart, a few centimeters apart. It's still going to stay together, I promise. But when you go to use the bag, if you don't put the yarn or the stitches close enough together, it could create holes in the bag while you use it, and you definitely don't want that. So make sure they're pretty close together just to make sure, again, nothing's going to be falling out of the bag. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish seaming up the bag. You're going to work 3 sides. You'll work the side, the bottom, and the other side. And once you get to the other side, all you're going to do is fasten off and weave in your ends. Super duper easy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for you guys, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have seamed up the bag and flipped it inside right side out. And now all that's left to do is these straps, as you can see. This is what it looks on the inside, and the seams on the outside. It looks really nice and neat. But now we need to make the strap so you can carry the bag. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the finished strap so I can show you what I came up with, and then we'll go over how to work it together. Okay, so after pondering many different ideas and kind of trial and erroring it, this is what I came up with. It's this cool, like, half checkered plaid kind of strap, and I did it so that the ends would match the ends of the bag that they're going to be attached to. But in order to do that, there had to be a color change somewhere, so I decided to do it right in the middle. I think it looks so cool. I think it's like an abstract kind of color block kind of situation, and I kind of love it. I didn't love it at first, but now I do. This is super duper easy to make. So I'm going to go ahead and help you guys get started with the strap, and then I'm going to leave the instructions on the screen so you're able to follow at your own pace. Again, this is going to be super duper easy. Just 2 color repeat, and then halfway through you'll have a color change or design. So sorry for the abrupt cutoff. My battery died, but I promise you didn't miss anything. I was just yip-yapping about nothing as always. But I am going to go ahead and jump into working the strap with you guys for a few rows just to make sure you guys understand the pattern and how it's worked up. For this, you're just going to need the 2 background colors for your bag, for these backgrounds here, your crochet hook that you've been working with, and a pair of scissors. Now, depending on which side of the bag you're starting with is what you're going to want to chain that initial chain for the strap for. I'm going to be working this side of the bag first, so I'm going to be doing my foundation chain in this gray color, but if I were to be working, actually it's the same thing. Is it? I didn't even realize that. Totally went over my head, so I guess it doesn't matter which one you decide to do, as long as it's the right side of your bag. Unless you're left-handed, then you would do the left side. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. This is super duper easy. You're just going to create a slip knot. I wish I would have done this, but it's super helpful to create a slip knot long enough for you to seam the strap to the bag so you don't have to attach any yarn later on. I did not do that, but luckily for you guys, I remembered it now. So go ahead and make a slip knot, and then you're going to chain in 9. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Working in the second chain from the hook, we're going to be placing 1 single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 3 foundation chains. 4, and then this stitch or this chain is where we're going to change our colors, so you should have 4 in this gray color or whichever color that you're working with. And I'm just going to tie on this new color just because it's easier. So I'm just going to tie that on. Then I'm going to finish this stitch with my second color, this cream color, and then work the last 4 single crochet in these foundation chains. So you should have 4 in color A and 4 in color B, if that makes more sense, since everybody is probably going to be working with different colors than me. And there we go. And this is going to be the repeat for the entire strap. It's just halfway through. I can't remember exactly how many rows I did of this particular color pattern, but I will have it on the screen, and of course I will have it in the pattern on my blog and in my Etsy shop. So all we're going to do is chain 1 turn and then work this exact color pattern again. So we'll do 4 single crochet in this cream color. Then we're going to switch to this putty color. Make sure to tighten that as we go. Finish that. Chain 1 turn, and then it's going to be the exact same thing. So we'll do 4 in color A, switch back to color B, making sure we maintain tension, and ta-da! Again, this is what you should have until you reach the halfway point, and then you'll just switch up the colors. It's super duper easy. Again, I'll have the exact row count and where I change the colors in on the screen, also in my Etsy shop blog. You know the drill. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clean my station up, and then we're going to go ahead and attach the straps to the bag together. Okay, we're back, and we're going to go ahead and start attaching the strap to our bag. Let me get this cleaned up. To make it easier for myself, I did go ahead and count 4 stitches across from the center to the left and to the right to make sure I have correct placement of my straps. And again, because of the color theme or the color design we went with, we do want to make sure that it matches up just like that. And then leaving a nice long tail on both ends is going to make it a lot easier to seam up the strap. Like I showed you before, I did not do that with this side. Totally disappointed in myself, but it's no problem. All you have to do is attach some yarn by making a knot and then seaming it in once you're done attaching the strap. Now you have a few options of attaching the strap. You could, of course, fold it and slip stitch it across. Or, as I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just seam it with a yarn needle. You do have a few color options with that. You can either take this color and do it all the way across. You might be able to see some of this gray color in this cream, but if you're not looking too close, you really can't tell. So it's more for aesthetic purposes rather than functionality, but you could use the color that you fastened off with for these first 4 stitches to match the color of the bag, and then switch to the cream, just again for aesthetic purposes. But for the sake of this video, so this isn't going to be like a million years long, I'm just going to use this tail that I fastened off with. So let me go ahead and attach my tail to the yarn needle. And again, this is probably the easiest way that I know how, and it's going to be a little bit of more seamless to do it this way rather than slip stitching it across, because once you slip stitch it, there is going to be this slight texture here and also this like little bit of a fold. It's really hard to explain unless you've seen it. So for me, again, personally, it just looks a little bit cleaner and neater when I seam it. So this is going to be super duper easy. All you're going to do is take this yarn needle, work it through where you place that slip stitch, or not slip stitch, stitch marker, or the 4th stitch from this middle seam. Pass that needle through, and then pass it through from the back side on this first foundation chain here, and pull it tight. Pass through the front of this stitch, through the back of the strap, pull it tight. And you're just going to do that for each one of these stitches. And again, here you can always pass the needle through to the back and then change the color from the color that you're working for this one to this color to make it a little bit more seamless. Again, just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to keep working with this color here. It's a little bit harder to pass through because this is where I did my color change. Here, pull it tight. Through the front, through the back, pull it tight, front, back, pull it tight, in front, back, pull it tight. There we go. And I just pass this needle through that same stitch that we worked to get the yarn on the back side, and then here is where I will make a knot. I'll just pick up, if you can see what I'm doing, pick up a loop from the back here, not pulling it all the way tight, making sure there's a loop here, passing the needle through, pulling it tight. And then I'll just weave this tail through a few stitches on the back just to make sure it won't unravel. You could also make a double knot too, just for security purposes if you're afraid of the strap breaking. But there you go. Completely seamless, and it looks super duper cute and good. And again, you can kind of see the gray through here, so if I had the time and if I wasn't doing this tutorial, I definitely would have switched colors. But if not, it's really not that big of a deal. It's nice and tight, so you're not going to have to worry about the strap breaking. But again, if you're worried about the strap breaking, you could always do that double knot back here that I showed you. I only did one, but you can also do another one just to make it a little bit more secure. And then you're going to match what you did on this side, making sure that the strap is not twisted when you're working this side. I have done that before and had to take it all out because the strap was twisted. So make sure the strap isn't twisted. Move here. Again, if you are like me and you didn't leave a tail to weave, it's totally fine. You just, again, have to attach some yarn. And ta-da! And I'm going to go ahead and finish the strap, and then we'll be right back to recap and take a look at the finished bag. All right, and we are all finished with the bag. I am so obsessed with it. It is such a fun little day bag. It's perfect for the beach, for the springtime, and the strap. I love the strap. I'm so glad I decided to do this because I really was kind of iffy about it, but it just looks so cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and it inspired you to try something new, and I hope your bags are beautiful. I'm sure they are. Please don't forget to take some pictures and tag me on Instagram so I can see what your bags look like and see what kind of colors you guys chose. I am so curious to see the creativity that you guys have. Again, if you want to follow this pattern, of course you can follow the video again, or you can look up the free pattern on my blog that I will link in the description box for you, and the paid printable version in my Etsy shop. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. The best way to get in contact with me is through my DMs on Instagram. I'm checking those constantly. You can also email me personally. I will leave that in the description box below also. It does take a little bit more time for me to get through. A lot of stuff ends up in my junk mail. So I would not recommend that, but you could always try, and I will absolutely do my best to get back to you guys. Again, I will leave all my socials and everything in the description box below, all the materials that I used, the yarn, everything. I will leave that in the description box below. And if you have any suggestions on any patterns or designs that you would like to see in the future, please feel free to leave those in the comments, or any kind of constructive criticism. I'm just getting back into making tutorials, so if there's something that you think would make these tutorials more receivable or followable, please feel free to let me know in the comments. You're not going to hurt my feelings unless you're mean, and if that's the case, we will not allow that. But again, before I go off and keep talking, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.